Welcome to my English channel, my friends. Today, I want to share with you a beautiful story about dreams, courage, and never giving up. It is the story of a little girl named Sarah. Her journey will inspire you and also help you practice English while listening. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Sarah was a little girl who lived in a quiet village surrounded by green fields and tall trees. The name of the village was Kingston. Life there was simple but very hard. Sarah's family was poor. Her father worked as a farmer in the fields, and her mother sold vegetables and bread in the small village market. They did not have much money, but they had love, and they always tried to take care of each other. Sarah was only 8 years old, but inside her heart she carried a very big dream. She wanted to be a doctor. One evening, Sarah sat with her father near the doorway of their little house. The air was cool and the stars were shining above. Sarah looked up at her father and said, "Papa, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor." Her father smiled gently. "My dear," he said, "becoming a doctor is not easy. It takes many years of study, and we don't have enough money for all that." But Sarah's eyes shone with determination. "I will study hard, Baba. I will find a way. I will not give up." Her father placed his hand on her head and whispered, "Then may God give you strength, Sarah. I believe in you." The reason Sarah dreamed of becoming a doctor was very personal. A few months earlier, her younger brother had been very sick. He had a high fever, and her parents were very worried. A kind doctor from the nearby town came to the village and treated him. That doctor spoke gently, gave me medicine, and comforted her family. Watching him, Sarah thought to herself, "One day, I want to be like him. I want to help people and bring them hope." That memory stayed in her heart and pushed her to study, even when life was difficult. Every day, Sarah walked to school. The road was long, and she had no shoes. Sometimes the ground was muddy, and her little feet got dirty. Other times the sun was burning hot, and sweat rolled down her face as she walked. The journey took more than an hour, but Sarah never complained. She carried her old school bag on her back, even though it was torn at the edges. She did not care about these things because she loved learning. Along the way, she would see cows grazing, goats running, and birds singing in the trees. Sometimes she imagined that one day she would drive a car to school, and she laughed quietly at her own dream. Her teacher at school was Miss Lila, a kind woman who loved her students deeply. Miss Lila noticed Sarah from the very beginning. She saw how Sarah listened carefully, wrote in her small notebook, and tried to answer every question. One day Miss Lila told her, "Sarah, you can do anything if you work hard. Never forget that." These words filled Sarah with courage. At night, when the village was quiet and her parents were asleep, Sarah sat under the weak light of a small lamp and studied. She read her book slowly, repeating the words until she understood. Even though her notebook was small and almost full, she wrote on every empty corner. One afternoon, Miss Lila found Sarah staying back in the classroom, reading a heavy science book filled with difficult words. "Sarah, why are you reading this?" the teacher asked kindly. Sarah looked up and said, "Miss, I want to be a doctor, but this book is very hard. I don't understand everything." Miss Lila sat beside her and smiled. "You are very smart, Sarah. Of course you can do it. You just need to keep working hard and never give up." Sarah's eyes lit up with hope. "Do you really think I can be a doctor, Miss?" "Yes, Sarah," Miss Lila replied firmly. "You can be anything you want. Always dream big. And remember, I am here to help you." From that day, Miss Lila began giving Sarah extra lessons after school. She taught her new words, explained difficult science ideas, and helped her solve math problems. Sarah felt so grateful. "Thank you, Miss Lila," she said with a bright smile. "I will study hard and make you proud." Miss Lila placed her hand gently on Sarah's shoulder. "Sarah, I am already proud of you," she said warmly. Those words stayed in Sarah's heart and gave her more strength than ever. At home, life was still difficult. The family lived in a small house made of mud bricks. Her father worked long hours in the fields, and her mother baked bread to sell in the village. One evening, her mother told her sadly, "Sarah, we cannot buy new books for school. We don't have enough money." Sarah felt tears in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "It's okay, Mama. I will share books with my friend Amina. Don't worry about me." Her mother hugged her daughter tightly. She admired Sarah's courage and gentle heart. After school, Sarah always helped her family. She cleaned the house, took care of her younger brother, and sometimes carried heavy pots of water from the well with her father. Even when she was tired, she never forgot her homework. She would sit late into the night, studying by the dim light of a candle or a lamp. One night, her father saw her still awake with her books. "Sarah, you work so hard," he said softly. Sarah looked up and answered, "Yes, Baba. I want to be a doctor. One day I will help people." Her father's eyes grew moist. "You make us proud already, Sarah," he said. That night, Sarah promised herself again, "I will not give up. I will work hard for my dreams." Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Sarah and Amina traveled to the city. Sarah felt nervous when she saw many students with their polished projects. "What if mine isn't good enough?" she thought. But Amina held her hand and whispered, "Don't worry, Sarah. You worked hard. Believe in yourself." When her turn came, Sarah stood before the judges and explained her poster. She spoke about clean water and how it saves lives. The judges listened carefully and nodded. After a long wait, the results were announced. The scholarship goes to Sarah. Sarah's heart leaped with joy. She shouted, "I won!" Her family hugged her tightly, and Amina clapped with excitement. For the first time, Sarah felt that her dream was no longer just a dream. It was possible. Winning the scholarship meant Sarah could now attend a better school in a nearby town. Her father looked at her with love and said, "This new school will help you learn more, but it is far from home. Are you ready?" Sarah nodded firmly. "Yes, Baba. I will work hard and make you proud." On her first day at the new school, Sarah felt both excited and scared. She saw many students with neat uniforms, shiny shoes, and new bags. She wondered, will they accept me? Will they be kind? During class, the teacher asked everyone to introduce themselves. Sarah stood and said bravely, "My name is Sarah. I love science and I want to be a doctor." Some students smiled. One girl named Layla came up to her later and said, "That's amazing. I love science too. Let's study together." Sarah felt relieved and happy. She was making new friends. At night, Sarah wrote in her notebook, "This is a new chapter in my life. I will keep going, one step at a time." Sarah's new school was exciting, but it was also much harder than her small village school. The classes were larger, the books were thicker, and the teachers gave more homework. Many of the students came from wealthy families. They wore fine clothes, carried shiny school bags, and even had private tutors at home. Sarah sometimes felt different from them. Her uniform was old, her shoes had small holes, and she had only one notebook. Some students even laughed at her simple clothes, but Sarah did not let their words stop her. She told herself, "I am here to learn, not to compare. My dream is bigger than these small things." Every evening, Sarah returned home tired. She had a long journey and a pile of homework. Sometimes her eyes grew heavy as she tried to read her science book. One night, her mother entered the room and said softly, "Sarah, you should rest. You are working too hard." But Sarah shook her head. "No, Mama. I have a test tomorrow. I must prepare." Her mother smiled with tears in her eyes. "I am proud of you, my daughter. But remember, even the strongest need rest." The next day, Sarah went to school and gave her test paper to the teacher, still feeling sleepy but hopeful. A week later, when the results were returned, she had the highest score in the class. The teacher looked at her with admiration. "Sarah, you are a hard worker. Keep it up." Sarah felt her heart fill with joy. She whispered to herself, "Hard work is not easy, but it is worth it." At school, she met Layla, a kind and bright girl who shared the same dream of becoming a doctor. The two girls often sat together at lunch, sharing bread, stories, and dreams. One afternoon, under the shade of a tree, Sarah told her, "I want to help sick people in my village. Many children there don't have doctors when they are ill." Layla nodded with a smile. "That is beautiful, Sarah. I also want to heal people. Let us help each other." Their friendship grew, and Sarah no longer felt alone. But even with her new friends, challenges continued. Sarah sometimes stayed in the library after class, surrounded by books much bigger than herself. She read slowly, sounding out difficult words and writing them in her notebook. One evening, another student approached her. "Hi, Sarah," the girl said warmly. "I see you here often. My name is Yasmin. Would you like to study together?" Sarah was surprised. "Really? You want to study with me?" Yasmin nodded. "Of course. You are smart. We can help each other." From then on, Sarah had not one but two study partners. Together, the girls shared ideas, solved problems, and supported each other through every challenge. One day, Yasmin told Sarah about a scholarship program that helped students who could not afford books or uniforms. "You should apply, Sarah," Yasmin suggested. "It will help you a lot." Sarah hesitated. "Do you think they would choose me?" Yasmin smiled. "I know they will. You are one of the brightest students here." With Yasmin's help, Sarah filled out the application. Weeks later, her family received a letter in the mail. Her mother called out, "Sarah, come quickly. There is something for you." Sarah opened the envelope carefully. Her eyes widened as she read the words. "Congratulations. You have received a scholarship." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She hugged her mother tightly. "Mama, this means I can buy the books I need. I can keep studying." The next day, Sarah ran to school and thanked Yasmin. "You are not just my friend. You are my helper and my hero." Yasmin laughed. "We are helping each other, Sarah. That is what friends are for." With her scholarship money, Sarah bought her first brand new books and a proper school uniform. She felt proud and confident as she wore it. Her teachers noticed the change in her and encouraged her even more. Sarah's love for science continued to grow. Miss Lila, her teacher from the village who still checked on her, told her about another science competition. This one was bigger, with many schools competing. Sarah felt nervous but excited. "Do you think I can win?" she asked. Miss Lila smiled. "Winning is not the most important thing. Trying your best is what matters." Sarah agreed, but in her heart, she hoped she could succeed. She worked hard every evening, practicing questions, drawing diagrams, and memorizing terms. On the day of the competition, Sarah stood among students who seemed more confident and better prepared. Her hands shook slightly, but she remembered Miss Lila's words. "Try your best." When it was her turn, she spoke clearly about plants, animals, and the human body. The judges listened carefully, and Sarah did her best to answer each question. In the end, she won second place. When she returned to school, the principal shook her hand and said, "Sarah, you are an example of hard work and determination. Keep going." Everyone clapped, and Sarah felt proud, not only for herself, but also for her family who had supported her. But life at home became even more difficult. Her family still struggled with money. One evening, Sarah's older sister, also named Amina, came to her and said quietly, "Sarah, I have decided to stop going to school." Sarah was shocked. "Why? You love learning too." Amina smiled softly. "I want you to follow your dream. You can become a doctor, and I will help the family. I will work in the shop and give my money to Baba and Mama." Sarah hugged her sister tightly. "But Amina, you are sacrificing so much for me." Amina kissed her forehead. "We are a family, Sarah. Your success will be my success too." From that day, Amina worked in a small shop, saving money and even buying Sarah a new school bag. Sarah was sad, but also filled with gratitude. She wrote a note for her sister. "Dear Amina, thank you for helping me. I will study hard and make you proud. Love, Sarah." Amina kept the note close to her heart. Soon after, Sarah's school announced an important test. The student with the highest score would receive a scholarship for high school. This was a chance Sarah could not miss. She studied every evening by candlelight because her village had no electricity. Amina sat beside her, sometimes helping her with simple questions. On the day of the test, Sarah felt nervous. "What if I fail?" she whispered. Amina hugged her and said, "You are smart, Sarah. Believe in yourself." Sarah walked into the exam hall, took a deep breath, and began. She read each question carefully and wrote with all the knowledge she had worked so hard to gain. When the results were announced, Miss Lila called Sarah to her desk. "Sarah, you got the highest score." Sarah's heart raced with joy. She ran home with the news. "Amina, I passed!" Her sister hugged her tightly. "I knew you could do it. Now you can go to high school." Sarah's dream was one step closer. High school was even bigger than her town school. Sarah felt nervous on the first day, surrounded by hundreds of students. Again, many were from rich families. Their uniforms looked neat and new, while Sarah's was patched and plain. Some laughed at her appearance, but Sarah ignored them. "I am not here for clothes," she reminded herself. "I am here for knowledge." Slowly, she made friends. A kind girl named Layla sat with her at lunch and shared her food. "You are very smart," Layla told her. Let's work together." Sarah smiled with relief. She was no longer alone. Her science teacher soon gave the class a project: build a model of the human body. Sarah had no money for materials, but her friends helped her. They collected old boxes, paper, and string, and together built a beautiful model. When they presented it, the teacher said, "Sarah, this is the best project. Well done." Sarah's heart glowed with pride. Weekends were special. Sarah returned to her village to see Amina and her parents. One weekend, Amina handed her a small bag. "I saved some money. Buy new books for school." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Amina," she whispered. With the new books, her studies improved. She knew she was lucky to have such a sister. The years passed quickly. Sarah faced many challenges, many nights of tears and doubt, but she never gave up. Step by step, she walked toward her dream. Finally, after many years of study and hard work, Sarah graduated. She was no longer the little girl with bare feet and torn notebooks. She was now Dr. Sarah. When she returned to her village, everyone gathered to celebrate. Children ran around her, families smiled, and her parents cried with joy. Her sister Amina hugged her tightly. "I am so proud of you, Sarah. You did it." Sarah smiled back with tears in her eyes. "No, Amina, we did it. This is our dream come true." Sarah opened a small clinic in her village. She treated the sick, comforted the old, and gave medicine to children. People began calling her our Dr. Sarah. Whenever she looked around, she remembered the long road she had walked, the muddy paths to school, the nights studying by candlelight, the sacrifices of her sister, and the kindness of her teachers and friends. Her dream had come true, not only for herself, but for everyone she loved. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Emma English Practice.